Hello everyone, today we're unboxing a wooden crate from Romania's Rockna. Some of you may not be very familiar with the Rockna brand, but I'm very familiar with it. Ever since I started using their server, I've gotten to know this brand much better. I've had plenty of experience with it, a love-hate relationship. Today I'm going to test this Wavedream DAC. This time I'll finally get to hear what their flagship product is truly capable of. I'll also focus on testing its I2S input. Let's see how much better I2S input really is. Do we really have to use I2S? Okay, after loosening the screws on the sides, open the lid, then here's the remote control. It's quite a bit larger than I expected. It's made of metal. The buttons feel pretty good, but why is it so huge? Alright then, let's go ahead and open it up. There's a US power cord at the bottom. We don't need that. Let's remove the velvet cover first. Okay, done. Unboxing complete. Let's take a look at the rear panel. Let's check out the back, starting from the left. The power inlet. It even comes with a Furutech socket. 6 digital inputs all right here. On the right and on the left are the stereo analog outputs, one balanced and one single-ended. A very straightforward DAC. Underneath the central unit there are 4 distinct square metal feet, and there's a protective O-ring underneath to prevent it from slipping or sliding around. It also provides a bit of damping. Romania's Rockna has always focused on digital products. The lineup is simple, just 2 tiers. The 2 units on the right are the mid-range Wavelight series. One is a server and one is a DAC. The one I use regularly is the server. The flagship line is Wavedream. The 2 units on the left are also a media server and a high-end DAC. The one I'm reviewing this time is called the Wavedream reference. It's the latest flagship model. Enough talk. Let's open it up and take a look inside. The layout is fully symmetrical, with a discrete design. The main board uses a high-density 10-layer PCB system control, and streaming playback are efficiently managed by an advanced AMD Xilinx system on a chip. As for the clock design, it uses a phase-locked loop clock architecture to further minimize jitter and phase noise. For the power supply circuitry, it uses a hybrid design with over 20 separate power rails. Feeding different sections, total capacitance reaches 90,000 microfarads. The toroidal transformer and display are both shielded with copper plates. The streaming module supports a wide range of features besides physical remote control. There's also an app you can download. To control it is volume control, uses 32-bit processing. So even though it's digital volume control, you won't hear any noticeable loss of dynamics. As for the DAC architecture, it uses their in-house FPGA processing. Upsampling is performed before R-2R conversion. This is absolutely the most fascinating part. Let's listen to a Madonna track and report back. Now for the main part, the DAC section, is Rockna's own in-house R-2R DSC architecture. Before the digital signal is actually converted, it first goes through their proprietary 16 times oversampling algorithm. Of course, if you don't want oversampling, you can disable it, which gives you non-oversampling or NOS mode. The reason they designed their own upsampling engine is because it has a huge impact on the sound. You can also see these 4 impressive modules. They are the R-2R modules. Why 4 of them? Because each positive and negative phase of the left and right channels has its own module, and each individual R-2R module has its own dedicated FPGA chip, using Rockna's proprietary algorithms to optimize the resistor ladder architecture. That's why this DAC achieves 27-bit precision, effectively solving the inherent limitations of R-2R DACs with extremely low linearity error and an outstanding dynamic range. The analog output stage uses a fully discrete design, combining JFETs and bipolar transistors operating entirely in Class A, rather than cheap op-amps as the buffer stage for a low impedance, low noise output. Looking at the specs, the dynamic range is 132 dB for the stereo analog outputs. Single-ended is 2.3 volts and balanced is 4.6 volts. Comes in matte black and matte silver dimensions are shown here. And it weighs 10 kilograms. By the way, there's also an ultimate version called the Wavedream reference signature, with an even more refined design at a higher price. Worth checking out if you're after the very best. Let's take a look at the front panel. It features a convenient touchscreen. With no physical buttons, thankfully it does come with a remote. These small holes are the IR receiver. The power button is in the top left. No need to press it. There's also a theme setting, black or white. This is the white theme. Below that is the volume control. Right now it's in bypass. Actually, you can keep adjusting it. The response comes step by step. Don't be too impatient. Above that are the inputs. As you can see, there are 6 inputs. Below is the current incoming sampling rate, and here's the settings menu. Audio settings. This section is where you can manually configure the I2S pinout in cases where you are not using a Rockna source. Check the manual to confirm the correct pinout. Since it lets you switch between many different pinouts, it's compatible with most other devices that output I2S. There are 3 PCM upsampling modes. I chose hybrid. This is phase inversion. Besides being a DAC, it's also a digital renderer. It has everything you need, but it can only perform one function at a time. It can't do multiple things simultaneously. Even so, it's already excellent. The room temperature is currently 24 degrees Celsius. It's been powered on for 2 days straight, and it's only reached 36 degrees. This area in the middle isn't cool, but it isn't hot either. The temperature is very evenly distributed across the unit. In simple terms, it barely gets warm. Alright, we're recording now using the Rockna Wavedream DAC. The partnering equipment is a complete Rockna setup this time. The Rune server is the Rockna Wavelight server connected via HDMI 2S using the default pinout. Just plug it in directly. Next is the integrated amplifier, the Boulder 866 integrated, paired with Magical A3 speakers. Now let's talk about the sound. First, I need to correct something I got wrong in a previous review. With a typical R-2R DAC, the common expectation is a thicker, warmer, smoother sound. With a slightly slower presentation and a more analog character, however, even though this is also an R-2R DAC, it doesn't sound like that. The Wavedream reference is actually very fast sounding. Its transient response, dynamics, and sense of rhythm are exactly what modern high-performance audio strives for. It excels in 2 areas. First, resolution. It's a very natural kind of resolution. Subtle details buried deep in the recording instrument, decays, and ambient reverberation are all preserved. Nothing is exaggerated, yet everything is easy to hear. This DAC's resolution is outstanding. Another strength is its soundstage reproduction. When listening to live recordings, whatever the original scale of the venue was, it faithfully recreates it. So with different recordings, the differences in recording quality and production style are immediately obvious. Tonally, the treble extends beautifully without sounding digital or harsh. The bass is well balanced in quantity, fast and well controlled, with excellent definition. From everything I've described, you might think this DAC is completely neutral, but in reality it is subtly voiced. To make the sound more enjoyable, I've praised it a lot, so what are its weaknesses? Whenever I review a product, I always point out its shortcomings. because no product is perfect. I hope everyone understands that. As for the sound of this Rockna, I honestly think it can already compete with some of the more expensive and better known brands head to head, but when it comes to its appearance, I personally feel it's a bit too industrial looking, and the entirety of the user interface is noticeably a bit sluggish to respond. If it looked a bit more luxurious and the interface were a little more responsive, it would easily outperform many rivals in its price range. At the beginning of this video, I asked a question: does this DAC sound best through I2S? Well, I can tell you, the I2S input sounds fantastic, but its streaming input sounds just as good. Considering Rockna's previous DACs didn't include streaming, this DAC now has complete streaming capability, so by choosing this unit, you effectively save some money, because you don't need to buy a separate digital renderer. To be honest, well over 90% of the DACs on the market, no matter how impressive their marketing sounds, are still ultimately limited by the inherent constraints of their DAC architecture. To truly break free from those limitations, you have to start from scratch and build everything yourself. That's why what really sets the Wavedream reference apart isn't simply how many FPGAs it uses or how many R-2R modules it has. It's that Rockna has developed a complete and coherent philosophy for digital playback. They understand the strengths of R-2R and then use their own technology, overcoming inherent weaknesses to achieve the best possible sound. If you are interested, visit Volant Audio in Tsim Sha Tsui and book an audition to experience firsthand Rockna's own philosophy of sound design.